Morning, thrilling afternoon, and excellent evening to everyone out there watching MindPlore. And I am Carla of MindPlore with Carla and Friends, and I am thrilled to have the panel I have today while we are talking about manifesting peace and joy right before Christmas for some, but it's a holiday festive month anyway. Having said that, I want to remind you to just sit back, enjoy, and have fun. And Jeannie, if you could get going, I can get what I need to get going and join the conversation today.
Did you want to introduce everyone first?
Oh yeah, I thought I did. Okay, we have the oldies but goodies. Jeanne, who has been doing the show every day with me. Jeff Keni Pulver, as one of the Thursday guys, but I couldn't get the other guy today. We have William Pastor Billy Devlin, and I call him Pastor Billy here, who you've known and you have seen on Tuesdays, but he's here today on Thursday. And I'm pretty honored because he's a pastor and Christmas is a big thing. And you can see he's in the car. And the whole point is he's here on MindPlore during this very busy season. And we have our new person, Shiksha Hyd, Dr. TPS, I believe. And he's from India. I interviewed him last week, and I really think he's going to be wonderful to have on MindPlore. So we have an amazing panel. I'm happy to be here. And guys, get going. And I will do what I promised for you.
Great. Thank you, Carla. I found some very practical quotes. Our subject today is manifesting joy and peace. I found some great quotes, but I wanted to repeat one from Tuesday because I thought it was really great. It's from the goddess of mercy, venerated by East Asian Buddhists, Kuan Yin. And she said, everyone creates realities based on their own personal beliefs. These beliefs are so powerful, they can create, expand, or entrap realities over and over. And then the practical ones that I found were from an author, Dennis Kimbrough, who talks a lot about leadership. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. So think about that as we look at manifesting joy and peace. And Jack Canfield, who wrote a lot of books, the For the Soul books, whatever goal you give to your subconscious mind, it will work night and day to achieve it. And that's if you're going to manifest something particular, think about how we get it done. And he's saying if you give it to your subconscious mind, it works 24/7, 365. So that's very powerful. And finally, we have a great American philosopher that I had to quote, and that is Oprah Winfrey. She wrote, "The big secret in life is that there is no secret." I'm going to repeat that. The big secret in life is there is no secret. Whatever is your goal, you can get there if you're willing to work. That's perfect for what we're talking about. So with that, can I kick it over to Shiksha, our newest member of the panel. Welcome.
Shiksha, are you there?
Yeah, there is some small internet hitch, so it was dragging. You want me to comment on joy and desire?
Yeah, we're kicking it off on manifesting joy and peace.
Yeah, joy and peace. Basically, human being, every one of us have desire. When you have desire, that is the basic root cause for not having joy, not having peace. If you can limit desire, by default, all of us have peace and joy. But human being, we have three basic desires. The desire for knowledge, desire for power, position, and desire for wealth. If you categorize all of them, any desire which you have in this world, this can be categorized into three. But if you ask basically, why do you want power? Why do you want knowledge? Why do you want money, wealth? Ultimate aim of everyone is to be happy, be joyful. But that path towards joy, for many people, it's too long. So if you know how to enjoy every moment, the present moment, I think joy is everywhere. Because people are too eager and the desire is limitless, boundless. They have already creating a long path, and therefore the step becomes too difficult.
So what you're saying is we often...
So limiting the desire is the best method.
Well, there's some weird noise that needs to be stopped. It's very hard to hear people. I don't know if it's from Shiksha, but we're having some strange noise coming. Are you hearing it?
Not anymore. It's gone down, so that's good.
Okay.
Shiksha, what I'm hearing you say is limiting our level of desire and enjoying the moment will bring that joy. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's why they call it.
Otherwise, basically every human being, but basically every human being have got joy and peace. Every creator created all of us to be with joy and peace.
Great, thank you. Pastor Billy, it looks like you want to jump in.
Can I say something before you do that? When we're talking about joy and peace, everyone has a fountain of joy within them. And we lose it because we forget to meditate. We forget to go within ourselves. And only when we're more focused on what is within ourselves can that joy be found outside in the world, because we create our own world. And that world is created with our thoughts and with who we are deep inside. Okay, Jeanne.
All right, well, okay, Pastor Billy.
Yeah, hey, everyone. And Shiksha, welcome to the program. We're so glad you're here on, with Carla and Jeanne and Jeff, and I'm Pastor Billy, residing in the People's Republic of Philadelphia. And no matter where I am, I have joy and peace because my heart belongs to God. And what I love about joy and peace is that it's internal. And we're talking about manifesting joy and peace. So how do you manifest? Well, manifest, you have to show it, right? You have to show it. You can't go around like you're sucking on lemons. And, you know, there can be some very negative people in the church, right? And I always go up to them and I say to them, you were not baptized in water. So this is like a grumpy person, right? A grumpy person, somebody that's always negative. I say to them, you were not baptized in water, which is, you know, the Christian tradition when we give our hearts to Jesus Messiah. I say, you were baptized in lemon juice because you're so bitter. You're so bitter. And instead of being negative, you need to be positive and then manifest joy and peace. So every day, every moment, every relationship, whether it's with our spouse, our kids, our grandkids, or just people we don't know, we have to manifest joy and peace, because you know what? And I'll conclude with this: joy and peace is infectious. We've been living in the midst of a pandemic going on 2 years, right? March 2022, it'll be 2 years. So everybody's worried about this pandemic, but how about a pandemic of joy and peace? And joy and peace is infectious. And so make a commitment today that in 2022, you're going to share, you're going to manifest more joy and peace. You're going to laugh more. You're not going to take yourself so seriously, and just share that I have joy and peace in Jesus Messiah. So you go out there and be radical about sharing your joy and peace. That's it. Back to you, Jeanne.
That works. Jeff.
Okay, so for joy and peace, for me, for manifesting specifically, I start each day by looking for sunrise. For me, I'm someone who believes in new beginnings. And if you want to manifest joy and peace, give yourself the opportunity that every day is a new beginning, a new start, a new opportunity to live, that you are unbounded in the joy and peace that you can receive, that you could share, that you could help manifest and share with others. And when you allow yourself to be unbounded, anything and everything becomes possible. And the joy of living brings out the joy in living with others. You just have to allow yourself to shine, to be bright, to be that light, to be that star, to bring hope forward. And when you allow yourself to be that beacon of light that's seen and shared, it will amplify. And together it will bring the world closer, your own universe, your own metaverse, the way you communicate. So it starts with sunrise. And that's how joy and peace starts to manifest with me.
All right. Hey, Jeff, there's stars behind you. So which one are you? The bright star in the middle there? Is that you? That bright star?
My planet's not in this picture, but
okay. Your planet. All right. Thank you.
I'm in a galaxy far, far away. The energy.
So we're going to have that sideways. What am I calling the titles that go up, in a galaxy far, far away? It'll go through there, and then we'll have Star Wars come out of that.
I think the energy, right? Some people's energy is celestial, some maybe more planetary. I believe my energy comes from galaxies millions of light years away.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jeff. I mean, my joy and peace comes from an infinite source.
Right.
So
right. Unbounded too.
Unbounded as well. That's right. And the good part about it'll never run out. It's been around for a long time, has no beginning, has no ending. It's infinite, and we can tap into that source, right? And so joy and peace is really limitless. We just have to make the decision to appropriate it and to share it with others.
And with that, to help is strengthen the inner light that we have, and to find ways to bridge the gaps between people who need to find the light and people who have the light, and provide ways to amplify it so that it's okay. It's okay to be joyful, that you live in an environment where it's okay to be at peace with yourself and with others, and allow yourself to have the voice to be you, to learn to love yourself, to love others around you, and to bring that love forward into the world. So yes, there's an infinity, it's unbounded, and it all starts with you.
I think that you covered something in a very philosophical way, but what I've heard is giving yourself permission to lock into that infinite, power source, whatever it is. And we all have different names for it. Pastor Billy's talking about the Lord and Jesus Christ and the Christian faith, which is beautiful. I'm sure, Shiksha, you've got several different names that you could bring up, because my friends from India have so many different folks they tell me about in their religious upbringing. And Jeff, you talk about the universe and the stars and the planetary energy. We all have different names for it, but it all comes down to source, wherever we get our source. But I like the idea that Jack Canfield says, if you tell your subconscious mind you want to lock into whatever that source is, it will work night and day to achieve it, which is, I go back to what I started saying, giving yourself permission. Because a lot of times we've grown up and we've been told you can't do that, or nobody wants to hear from you, or lots of things that at the time made sense because we were kids and we were learning. But as adults, we still have those reins, like when you're controlling a horse, you still have somebody pulling on the rein, and we have to give ourselves permission to let go of the rein and let us run free in that source, so that we can manifest or outpicture in the world those dreams of joy and peace, the realities that we really have access to, but we've forgotten. Does that make sense? Carla?
Yeah, I'm still putting this together. I had problems finding it on the page. It is there now. Yeah, to me, joy and peace are already inside of us. And the issue comes, and it came for me as a kid too, and as an adult. I thought I needed something outside of me. I thought I needed to be successful in a particular way. And as I grew and listened to different pieces of knowledge and different pieces of information, I began to understand that, I know Pastor Billy, I began to understand that we needed to go within to find that joy. And once we found that joy, then it would be all around us. And we forget that so very often. And I think I'm at my limit right now. So, guys, someone take over. Do you agree with me that joy is within? I think it's Shiksha.
Yeah.
You're not talking. You're going to have
Yeah, there is something.
Go on, Shiksha. Shiksha.
There is something called showing. There is something called feeling, and there is something called being. All the three are different. When you say I share, I am only showing. When you get it, you are feeling. But that doesn't mean you are being in that. Peace and joy is being in peace and joy. So if you want to be in peace and joy, it should come from within. But then you are connecting to the external. When you connect to the external, it is all the sensory organs which connects. But sensory organs can only capture the data. The processing happens either in your heart, the feeling, taking it in the right way. The process happens because of the feeling. But then you have a brain which keeps comparing logically. So actually, when you are feeling, there is also a process which happens in the brain to think the logic. Therefore, the peace and joy depends on how much conflict you have between your manas, the feelings, and the brain, the buddhi. Suppose your intelligence and the feelings have got a lot of conflict. Such people will become not able to process in the right way. So we say that it's all inside. Where is this inside? Is it the brain? Is it the emotional feelings which you have? Or is it the soul, which is like a judge who decides whether the decision was correct or not? Whenever I do something for making me happy, I myself ask questions to me. Did I do right? Did I do something wrong? Was it the right decision or a wrong decision? So the question comes only from inside. So how can you make somebody else happy? You can only share. Whether that person takes it inside and then processing happens to him in the way he wants. So it all says, Purne Manasi Sampurnam Jagat Sarvam Sudhadravaihi. The world is all decided by how your feelings are. How are you going to direct your sensory organs to capture it and process it? So how much cleaning you can do, where your feelings are cleaned, your sensory organs are cleaned, your buddhi is cleaned. When you get that more and more purified, cleaned, that is what we call it as spirituality. So you become a person of Atma, a soul, and therefore your feeling and the buddhi will not contradict. You will be controlled by the soul, which is very close to whatever called God or power or energy. Then you are connected to the universe. That is what is called your spiritual being. So everybody is not spiritual. If you have no joy, no happiness, no peace, that means you are not spiritual. So it is not external, it is that internal in you which becomes less conflicting probably, or maybe you can justify yourself internally. So it says, Uddhared Atman Atmanam, raise your soul, buddhi and the manas to that level of soul where everything gets connected to the universe. That takes a lot of spiritual practices. And that spiritual practices will give you not feeling, not showing, but being in peace and being in it. So there is nothing called manifestation, is only at the superficial. When you go deep inside, there are no waves, there are no vibrations. Deep inside, you are always happy.
Okay. Okay, I like that. Deep inside, you're always happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pastor Billy, what do you think? What's going on in your head?
You know, I have this is a picture that was painted by a survivor of a great tragedy. And so you can probably see, this is from Iraq. There's destroyed buildings in the background. She has, and she says, this is her past. And she says here, not smiling, that this is my present. But then she holds up this very bright, in the midst of a lot of darkness, and she says, this is my future. So, you know, even when we think of people that have gone through tragedy this past year, that I want to take it upon myself to share joy and peace with them. And I take that as a personal responsibility. And if you can imagine that if everybody viewing MindPlore today, and if we could translate joy and peace to the entire world, imagine how the world would be if we could just have all 4, 5, 6 billion people on earth all communicating in joy and peace rather than arguing and fighting and so forth and so on. And so, like this little girl who painted this picture, you know, I have hope, because when you have joy and peace, you have hope, right? That joy and peace leads to hope. And I hope that the world can have a bright future. And I'll just share a thought. In the Christian faith, we have an acronym for joy. So what's the J? The J is Jesus. The O is others. And then the Y is you. So we put our lives in the right priorities. And again, in the Christian context, we keep Jesus number one, and then we're sharing joy and peace with others. And then we're taking care of ourselves. That's JOY, Jesus, others, and you. And that's just an acronym that I teach my church to, have a handle on how do we operate not only during a season like the Christmas season and the New Year, but how do we operate every moment of every day? So think about that as you work to manifest joy and peace to others. Back to you, Jeanne.
Thank you, Pastor Billy. I like that. The setting up priorities is what you're talking about, and prioritizing what makes you joyful. Whatever your spiritual background is, that helps add a perspective that's greater than you. Working for others and giving your gifts out is always a great thing to do. And then accepting that joy and that peace, and giving yourself permission to recognize it and to live in it would be beautiful. So that's great. Jeff, I saw you nodding earlier.
Yeah, well, I'll be brief, but I kind of think that part of the answer to the question is setting your intention, understanding your purpose, and understanding your dharma in this particular case of who you are and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. If you are going to allow yourself to be joyful and empower yourself with that purpose to bring joy and peace to the world, then it's something that you can do. Perhaps you cannot force anyone else to follow your purpose, but you might inspire them. And your actions may create other reactions, which together bring forward a connection to a higher being, to a higher self. And really, from my perspective, life is always about energy, vibration, and frequency. And we can raise the vibration and raise the level of consciousness, then we will be in a mind space of joy and peace. It's when we don't allow ourselves to see because we're blinded by other things that we don't see or experience the love, the light, the energy, and those around us who are there to give us. I mean, part of the season of giving, there's an assumption that it's also a season of receiving. But if those that you're trying to connect to are not open to receiving your love, to receiving your light, they're not equipped to hear you, then are you really being heard? And you were just speaking into a blue ocean. So we can bring joy and peace, we can manifest, we can share techniques. It's a multi-threaded street where we're all together here. All 8 billion folks are on this planet, and we're going to affect positiveness. We need to allow ourselves to be heard with the respect to others who can take the time to receive our message. Thank you.
I think it's important to. Oh, Jeff, I like how you're so literal sometimes. I think that it's important to remind ourselves periodically that the only person that we can control is ourselves. And we can exude joy and peace. We can have some really great philosophical conversations with someone, but if they don't act or react to what we're saying, that's their responsibility. Our responsibility is to act and react in our own best interest. And that understanding that helps understand when somebody has a bit of power over you because you're worried about what they think or what they're doing. But when you can take that power back and share your gifts and allow that they get to choose whether they accept it or not, then you get a chance to have more of that serenity, I think, your peace. And that, I know I was way into my adult life before I ever understood what that meant. I struggled with it for a long time, but accepting that I can only control myself was a very big lesson for me. I grew up in a family model where the parents were in complete control. And yet, as we get into adults, we had to learn how to be in control for ourselves. And that's a lesson that I struggled with earlier, and I try to remember every day. The power that I have in this world is over how I act and react. Carla, I noticed that you had, kind of acted like you were going to say something, so I'm going to check in with you.
I'm not sure that I agree that anyone has any more power than anyone else. I think we lose sight of who we are, and whether we would consider that power or not. I don't like that word, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
but the creativity that is within all of us is what gives us who we are. And only when we are at that source and we're doing what we think we should be doing and going with it, do we find that peace and joy. We don't find it from outside in the world. We don't find it from people saying, hey, Carla, I think you should be a doctor. Or, hey, Carla, I think you should be a garbage woman. Or, hey, Carla, do this. It's not listening to someone else. It is listening to ourselves. And when we begin listening to ourselves, then we begin creating that joy within ourselves because we know where it's coming from.
Can I just say we vehemently agree? That's basically what I was saying. I just used the word power because that's something that I recognized. When somebody told me I was giving my power away, I didn't understand what that meant. And it took a while for me to understand that what this person meant was based on what somebody who I perceived in power, say my mother or a good friend, what they wanted, I would react and try and do versus what I wanted. And when I learned that I needed to listen to myself and not worry about what they were thinking, then I was able to get a little bit more into who I really am. So it's an internal, I don't want to use the word struggle. There's an internal tug of war, I think, in how we were brought up to behave, and then how we let somebody else tell us what they want, and then we get to decide what's right. You could tell me, I don't want you to write something, but I decide that I go ahead and write it, because that's what I need to do. It's how I act or react. It's how I see the world. It's the permissions I give myself. And that's when I can get into more of a communion with that spirit that Shiksha was talking about. When I let that still small voice that we talk about in meditation actually have the microphone for just a moment. Sometimes it's just a moment of insight to listen to that still small voice and go, oh, and let it have its moment. That's when I give myself permission to be me. And that's when I find that I'm in that flow that Jeff often talks about. I call it magic time, where I'm doing something, but I don't feel the constraints of time and the world around me, because I'm in that space where I need to be at the time, creating what I need to create.
I can agree with that. Pastor Billy, who seemed to be in another world for a little while, came back to us, and I think he has something to say.
Yeah, joy and peace. Again, I always, with other people, we have a responsibility to others as human beings. And I think we've all been saying this in different ways. And it should not only be during a time of holiday. Times of holiday is with family and friends, and everybody gets excited. And course, here in the West, we have pretty much destroyed the original meaning of Christmas, which is the birth of Jesus Messiah coming to earth. And now we've totally commercialized it and conspicuous consumption. And, as one of my Muslim friends says, during Christmas, we buy gifts with money we don't have to impress people that we don't even know, and so forth and so on. So, and someone has used this word before. Every day should be a season of giving. Every moment of every day should be a season of giving, right? Giving of ourselves to others. And not just during a time of Christmas or of Ramadan or of any other particular holiday, but we have to make, and here's my point, we have to make an intentional, conscious decision to share and manifest. Sharing is just another word for manifest, joy and peace in our own lives, and bring joy and peace to people that maybe have no joy and peace. Someone gets a bad medical diagnosis. What do? You share joy and peace with them. So that's something in my heart that I wanted to share with our MindPlore viewers and listeners, that, hey, during this season and on into 2022, let's take responsibility for making the world a more joyful and peaceful place. So let's do that together in 2022. All right, that's it. Back to you, Jeanne.
Jeanne, I would throw in, conceptually, happiness should be more than just a name on a floor mat. That we should allow ourselves the possibility that we actually embrace the happiness, that we allow ourselves internally to flow, to connect. And that's why I refer to understanding and setting intention and purpose to do things, because if we don't set intentions and purpose, then we are in less control of ourselves and less conscious of what is happening. And then happiness does become a name on a floor mat. And so, to one extent, to the over commercialization of joy and delight and giving at one level, and people spend their lives sharing, right, and perhaps caring for others in their own ways, not looking for any type of acknowledgement, but just doing what they do because that's how they see their purpose in being. And we can bring joy and delight into the world in our own way without judging. We just have to allow ourselves the chance to breathe and then do it in a meaningful way that's meaningful for us. We're only bounded by our own imagination, where we are the ones controlling who we are respectfully in whatever village or place that we are to be. And when we're working with others, to respect the others, but it's up to us to come forward and to find that frequency of connection so that we can be joyful, we can bring happiness, and we could be who we are and collectively make this a better experience for all that are here together, with all respect to others, to everyone's needs, and to bring joy and delight when we can, and respect people who are not able to experience joy because they're going through pain. We have to allow that pain to also be recognized and understand that while we all want to be joyful, we also have to recognize the pain and suffering of others at the same time, because one doesn't cancel out the other, but together we live in harmony as one. And we just have to respect each other, what we're going through, so that when someone's having a hard day, we can understand it. And hopefully we can guide them with things and bring smiles to their faces and bring them into that light. Because sometimes you have to walk into darkness to find the light. And if all you see is light, you may not even recognize the darkness when it comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. That is true. I think sometimes just sitting next to somebody and letting them know that you care by just sitting there quietly with them is a gift that we don't often recognize how important it is. We want to fill the air with words, and sometimes all we need to do is sit quietly and let them know that we're here supporting. And I do that with my grandkids a lot. I just sit with them, and that reminds me, I believe one of the gifts of my grandkids is that they ground me in reality, because they live in the present. My grandson is 2 years old. He doesn't know about the future, and he has no clue about the past. He knows about right now, and his joy is jumping up and down on whatever he can find to jump up and down on. And it's beautiful to watch. But sometimes I just get him to sit next to me, and that kind of calms him down. And those moments when we're just quiet, those are when I know our spirits are touching. And that's a beautiful time. And I do that with my friends sometimes. They'll say, "You're kind of quiet, and you're not saying anything." And I'll say, "Well, I just need to be here with you." And that's a gift. That's a gift, and it brings me joy to be with my friends. I don't have to tell them how I feel or what I'm doing. I don't have to expend any judgment. I just want to be there.
Yes, I call that Pastor Billy, I call that the ministry of presence, MOP, the ministry of presence. And it's just sitting there with people. And, I believe that, and I don't want to get too out there, although I'll be interested to see what Shiksha and Jeff and Carla say about this, but we don't even have to speak, and we can exude joy. We can leak, if I can say that, we can leak joy out of our pores, out of our being. And again, that may not be a Christian concept, but I think it's just a human concept that we don't necessarily have to use words to leak joy, to exude joy. There was a pastor hundreds of years ago that said this saying. He said, "Preach the gospel of Jesus at all times, and when necessary, use words." So, Jeanne, as you just said, we can sit with people and just be quiet, and we can practice the ministry of presence, and people will feel the joy and peace from our lives, and that'll be transmuted to them in and here we go, I'll use a big word, in a supernatural way, right? Because we need to be about the supernatural, right? We need to be about the supernatural. So those are my thoughts.
Okay.
Go ahead, Carla.
Can I talk?
I love that you always ask on your own show if you could talk. It's just beautiful.
Well, you guys get into such a conversation, and I feel like I'm butting in. You're right. I shouldn't be asking. What I wanted to add is I was in silence for 10 days. I have been in silence many times, but I was in silence for a deep silence in 1989 for 10 days. And during that time, I laughed a lot. I did some crying. It was more or less laughing. But what I found was we had to do little jobs around the area that we were in order to make sure that people ate, the bathrooms got clean, you name it. And during that time, no one was speaking. We were just in silence. And yet we united in such a wonderful way. And some of these people I haven't seen, I've gone for years without seeing, and we see each other again. And during any time that we re-meet, it's like there's a closeness there that was never, that you couldn't feel with anyone else. And I attribute it to the fact that we all breathe the same air, we're all connected. And we all know what's going on, whether we want to or not. We are so connected that it's not necessary that let me say this another way. Words are not the central way of communicating. Silence is another big way for communication. And this is what you're talking about, that silence brings us together.
Yeah. Amen.
Jeff, you look like you want to say something.
Well, no, I'm torn to what the words that were shared in the last few minutes, because earlier this year I lost my mom, who, she contracted COVID. It was COVID that accelerated her dementia to a point that basically ended her life. And you could sit there with people not realizing they have dementia, in our case, communicating, sharing time when you don't necessarily know what's actually being heard. And it's hard.
I'm sorry that you went through that. I lost my mother to Alzheimer's as well this past year. And she had reached a point with her Alzheimer's that I believe that she was she had the actions and reactions of maybe a 3-year-old. And obviously it was a little difficult to have conversations, but just sitting with her, when we finally got the chance to go back, because there was 9 months we couldn't see her, but just being able to sit with her calmed her down. She was really anxious, as you know, a toddler would be with a bunch of strange people, because she could not recognize folks anymore, and she didn't know who I was, but she knew that I belonged there. So she had, on a different level that I'll never understand, she knew that we belonged together. And really it was a lesson in my own need for patience and quiet, to just sit with her and be in that present moment. Because like my grandson, at that point, she had only the present. She didn't have a past. Sometimes it would pop up and we would enjoy those moments, but she didn't have a past and she didn't have a future. She was right there. And so there's lessons to be learned, in some of the adversities that we live with, and that help us with what we're going to go through. And, remembering is a very important skill. I think remembering the lessons that we've learned. But Jeff, my heart goes out, because I know how difficult that is.
Thank you. And it's, so to your point, we really have is the now, right? It's that moment that exists that we all speak, we're all connected at some level. And when you're, so when we're talking for today, we're talking that one core assumption is that everyone who we're talking about theoretically has the ability to be heard, to be seen by others. But when that ability to be heard is reduced, I just found myself floating in the now around the words that were being said, and then realizing silence is good, and I respect silence, because I go silent a lot and people think but I actually just like to listen, or I have ideas in my head and I'm just processing them while people are speaking, so I'm just hearing at my own level. But there are times when you want to have a conversation and you just can't, right? So you're bound by silence, and those are some of the hardest conversations maybe I never had.
I agree. Shiksha, you're looking like you've got something to share.
Yeah, there are, if you categorize, there is some people who have and some people who want. Somebody want. So I'm sure it depends on the maturity. Young children are, Jenny was sharing that young children were enjoying. They are not enjoying because they are giving. because they are getting a company. So sometimes it is not that material what we give gives us happiness. This is my poem book, Life of Love, in which the third one is I need someone. So always we need someone to share. I need someone to keep me company and be with me forever in happiness and sadness. Probably when you give something, when you get something, there is a temporary happiness. But I'm sure we're not talking about that joy, that peace. We are not talking about a temporary happiness. We are not talking about temporary smiling time. We want a longer, constant being in happy. So when we talk about that, it is entirely different from getting something and being happy for that moment. It's not moments. It is whether you have such moments in life, in later part of life, you can cherish. Number one. Or do you have such moments when you think about it, you feel so upset, oh, I should not have done it. See, the most of the time people are not happy because they always think about past, and those past moments are actually haunting them. If you have created many moments in your life which are cherishable in the future, I'm sure days to come will become more and more happier. So what is essential is whether that happiness also when you want, you need someone to share. So we need someone to care us, to share us, to love us. And that sharing is what we are talking about, not that materialistic sharing. Probably when we get something, yeah, that is temporary. I think when we talk about in the higher sense, joy and peace is not what external, which is intrinsic. Suppose wherever I walk, I want a leather carpet. The question is it possible to have leather carpet all the places where I walk? The normal tendency to answer is it's not possible.
Right.
But it's quite possible. Only thing you need a leather footwear. And then when you walk everywhere, you get the feeling of wherever you are walking, you are getting a leather carpet. So joy and happiness is what you carry wherever you go. You should not become a beggar of joy and happiness. You are very comfortably in a place where you can give. Assume you are uncomfortably materialistically somewhere, still you have a comfortable mind or buddhi or manas feeling to give to somebody. I'm sure you can always create that. So it is not the rich becomes the joyful, poor becomes the unhappy. No. So you can be uncomfortably comfortable, but there are some people comfortably uncomfortable. So it's all that is in your minds. You can decide my mind, my manas, my feelings are what matters. And if I believe, oh, somebody is not with me, I must realize that the world is not that someone. I have got somebody else also. I keep saying when you miss a bus, you get a lot of buses. You don't have to keep on thinking about what you missed. You should always feel happy about what you have around every moment. And be with them, share with them, care them, and start learning to love with them. That is what is essentially to be done.
Thank you.
Okay, hey, Pastor Billy here. Joy and peace to everybody. I've got to jump to a radio show and to share joy and peace with a few thousand people as we've done here on MindPlore today. So joy and peace, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Joy and peace. Happy New Year too.
Happy New Year.
So Jeff, you were going to share something?
No, I was going to wish everyone a happy holiday and happy New Year and thank them for listening this year. And just say I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here to share words, whether they're 30 seconds long or longer. But thank you. And Carla, thank you. And
Yeah.
if you're listening to my voice, please support Carla in all her activities. She brings joy and love and peace to this world, and it'd be nice to be received when she asks for help. So please help support Carla. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Mirza, do you, Mirza, Dr. TPPS, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
We all the chantings in Bharatiya India tradition is Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. That means let everybody be in peace, peace, peace.
Shanti,
Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Okay.
Every chanting ends with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let everybody in peace, everybody be in peace, everybody in peace. That's what is essential.
Beautiful.
Gotta go, guys. Bye.
Let all of you be in peace, all of you be in peace, all of you be in peace.
Okay, and Jeff is saying, I gotta go.
Me too.
So, because he's saying it so fervently and being so polite by staying, why don't we all wave goodbye now? And we'll see you next week for more MindPlore Exploring of the Mind. And thank you for watching and everything. Jeanne, did you want to say anything before I close out?
Just a reminder for everyone to log on to your Patreon page. You might put that on underneath in the comments. We'll put that in the comments on the Facebook page to support Carla and the production of this show and the English show and all the other things that Carla does. And ask people to visit us on YouTube at Gigglefest University and subscribe, comment, and share the show out, because if you have 5 people in your network and they have 5 people in their network and so on, we could touch the world. And I think we had some great insight in how we can connect to our own personal joy and peace long term, not just in temporary form, but longer term in this show. And I'd love to see people share that out.
Okay, and with that, let's say goodbye and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.